היי, שלום לכולם. שלום לנשרה. היי נועה. היי מיכל. מה שלומכם?
טוב, תודה, מה שלומך?
בסדר גמור. טוב לראות אתכם. היי מיכל, שלום. אז טוב, נחכה עוד קצת שאנו תגיע, בינתיים נציין את הדברים הרגילים והידועים, שאנחנו נפגשים פה בשביל לדון בדבריו החכמים של שנטי-דבה בספר שלו, המדריך לאורח חייו בודיסטווה, ואנחנו מתמקדים כאן בפרק השלישי שעוסק בסובלנות, ואני לוסנג היא המורה שלנו, האהובה, ושמח לראות שיש עוד אנשים שמצטרפים אלינו ברגעים אלה, אז אני רק אזכיר לכל מי שבמקרה שכח או רוצה לדעת, אז יש לנו עוד פעילויות ועוד סרטונים שנמצאים באתר של ידידי הדרמה ובערוץ היוטיוב שלנו, אז אני אפרסם בצ'אט עוד מעט כמה קישורים לזה, ואני מזכיר גם שכל הפעילות שלנו של ידידי הדרמה של ישראל נעשית בהתנדבות ומסתמכת על תרומות, ומי שרוצה או רוצה לתרגל נדיבות ולסייע לנו להמשיך את הפעילות הזאת גם בתקופה של הקורונה, מוזמנים לעשות זאת באמצעות מתן דנה, ואת הפרטים לכך אפשר למצוא באתר של ידידי הדרמה, ואני גם אשלח קישור ספציפית שמאפשר לשלוח דרך פייפל למורה שלנו. ודבר אחרון, אני רואה שכולם פותחים את המצלמות שלהם כמעט, אז כל מי שרוצה ויכול לפתוח את המצלמה מוזמן, וזה עושה תחושה טובה ואווירה טובה של שיעור, ואני גם מפרסם בצ'אט את המייל האישי שלי לכל מי שיש לו בעיה, שאלה, אם הוא או היא רוצים לברר משהו, אני תמיד אשמח לעזור. אז זהו זה. אני אברך את המורה שלנו. היי אנילה, good evening.
Hello. Just continue if you need to continue.
No, I just finished. Thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. And
You're very welcome.
that's the precious words of Shantideva. And let's begin.
Let's begin, as you say. So how are you, everybody, after this yesterday day? Yeah, you have to open your microphone if you want to say something. Anybody wants to say something? Noah?
Yes, that we need now a lot of patience.
You need now a lot of patience. Yeah, that's true. And, you know, getting angry is not really helping. This is the thing. So, and as we said last week, even somebody like Netanyahu, at one point, he will also die. I mean, it's like, you know, so we shouldn't laugh. We shouldn't find this so funny and so great. But yeah, again, you know, because that was the homework, wasn't it, about rejoicing? Was that we can be joyful when somebody like this goes or when he dies, but we should kind of rejoice with a thought like this. He doesn't create more negative karma. Yeah, so at least, you know, we have a thought about him as a person and not just thinking about what he does. So, and this is the difficult thing. It's so difficult to separate the actions from the people because we all mix it. We can do it with ourselves. With ourselves, we are, you know, we can do it quite well. Like when we do negative actions that we do sometimes, we're not throwing out the whole thing. And we can still be decent and okay with ourselves. Yeah. It was okay. But I think it was to be expected a bit, wasn't it? Yeah, Tom says no. Michal says yeah. Elisheva says yes, maybe.
I said yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Okay. So you see, this is the whole thing also about hopes and fears. Like we put so much on hopes and fears. So if it would have been really like big hope that he's not going to win, or that his party is not going to win, today it would be much worse, right? So and at least, you know, the homework was also to be careful not to rejoice in a negative way. So there was absolutely no danger, the outcome of the election, that you would rejoice in a negative way. So at least for you, you didn't create more negative karma. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So you see, when the situation cannot change, not be changed, so at least we try to see what is positive in there, because there's nothing that is just negative, and there's nothing that is just positive. But I have to say, I feel a bit, maybe I also don't know what to say to make you feel better, because I can say, I can imagine how it must feel. No, I cannot imagine how it must feel, because I don't know. Exactly, as Israel says, I don't know how it feels. I belong to a country that, gets attacked because of the banks, and because of, we look so clean, but then we're not, and all this. But the government that we have, more or less, is okay. Still, people are not happy. So I don't know how it feels. This is why also I think I'm not the right person to cheer you up. But but what we will do also is do some awareness meditation again, and again some, connecting to our own inner goodness. We already did that meditation, and because we did it once, it doesn't mean that we can't do it again, because with this whole thing, as you, Tom, you can affirm to me, like we have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until the connections in the synapses, or whatever these things are called, are made, and that they hold. Yeah, so just doing it once, even if you have quite a lot of experiences, or you have sensations and feelings, but it just goes, because our habits are to go the other way are quite strong. Okay, so we'll do first we just do some silent meditation, some awareness. You make yourself comfortable, sit with a straight back. And then to connect with the body before we go to the mind, because when we don't feel so well, then also always connecting with the body, knowing what's going on in the body, feeling the sensations of the body. This is such a great help, not necessarily to make you feel better. Try to, although I know it comes as a motivation, try to not to sit and just do awareness or something in order to feel better. Try to do it in order to observe, in order to understand. Yeah, and then the feeling better, that will come with time. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes focusing on the breath, you start to open up, you start to calm down. Sometimes not at all. Sometimes it gets even worse. But it's not the point, Doing awareness meditation is not the point. It's not the point to feel better. Then we might as well swallow a pill or smoke a joint. It's much easier. And you have more guarantee that it works for that short amount of time. So why we do awareness meditation is to understand how our mind functions. That we have so many resources, inner resources, that we don't tap into, because we're always looking outside for the situation to get better. We're very much dependent on the situation outside. And that, especially in today's world, is so dangerous, because we want to be happy and we have a right to be happy. So this is the point, to start to understand the nature of things, to start to understand how things function, to start to understand what brings happiness and what brings suffering, short term, long term. Long term, we have to trust the Buddha's teachings Short term, we can observe. But connecting with your body and really knowing what the body is doing, how the body feels, how it sits, going through each part. And then with one corner of the mind, noticing also what's going on in the mind when you do this. Not pushing that you should be calm and open and even happy after yesterday's election day. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel hopeless, but don't become that feeling. Just notice it with a lot of compassion and with a lot of care. Not welcoming it, but also not wanting it to go away. With a lot of interest. Going inside. And connect with the feeling, not with thoughts, but with choiceless awareness, as if you are a scientist who is studying something without liking, without disliking. How do you feel at the moment? Not in your head, not with thoughts. How do you experience your present state of mind? If you get lost in thoughts, go back to the feeling, to the experience of how you feel. And just observe what is happening. Does it stay the same? Is it changing? Does it get worse? And if it does get worse, it doesn't matter. We're here to watch. We're here to observe. Is it as solid as we think it is when we don't watch it? Then again, if you get distracted, come back to the experience about how you feel. And choose not to follow the thoughts of judging it. It's very tempting always to have an opinion about what is happening, outside, inside. And the moment we label it good or bad, this is what it becomes. And we're not in the flow anymore because we don't see the impermanence. We don't see that these emotions are just a dynamic energy inside of us. And with time, we might even recognize that there's no solid me or self who is holding that emotion, who is having that emotion, or who is becoming that emotion. And then very often when we get lost or when we become these disturbing emotions, we lose confidence in our own innate inner goodness. So in order to get in contact with it, to bring it up, it's always good just to think of somebody that cares about you. And you get in contact with the feeling of being cared about, being seen, being listened to, being liked, valued, or loved. And the same as we did before, connect with that feeling, experience it, live it, not in the head, but in the heart. And again, not judging it. Don't cling to it, don't grasp at it, but be aware of it. Then recognize goodness in your acts and thoughts, in your words, and in your deeds. These include positive intentions, putting the brakes on anger, restraining addictive impulses, extending compassion and helpfulness to others, the courage to say the things that need to be said, but with wisdom, kindness, generosity, and patience. All of this is you. And that's our nature. . So maybe when through these thoughts, we can touch that innate inner goodness that we all have. So sense the goodness at the core of your being. It is there, inside of everyone, no matter how obscured sometimes. It can feel intimate or impersonal, but it feels like a force, a current, a wellspring in your heart. Then again, think of the person that we had at the beginning, the person that sees your goodness, recognizes it, likes you, values you, sees you, listens to you. By understanding that recognizing the goodness in others, it will help you feel our own. As you can experience right now, just thinking about that person. You experience your own goodness, your kindness. And then we go a bit deeper and we feel that yearning that we all have. The yearning to be good, to be decent, to contribute, to help rather than to harm. It's our nature. When the mind is, or the heart is open and filled with compassion and wisdom. So then, as much as possible, give over to that goodness. Increasingly, let the better parts of your nature be the animating force in your life. In difficult situations or relationships, ask yourself, being a good person, what is appropriate here? Or if you are a Mahayana Buddhist, you ask yourself, being a Bodhisattva, what is appropriate here? Acts, words, and especially thoughts. And again, we finish the meditation with the very simple thought, I am a good person. If there is resistance, if there's doubt, don't fight it. Just don't believe it. And repeat the sentence. I am a good person. We don't need to prove it to anybody else. We have to start to believe in it. So that at any time we can tap into these inner resources. I am a good person. And just allow whatever sensation, whatever feeling comes up to be there. And again, acknowledging it, recognizing it with awareness and with interest. Then if you get distracted, come back to the thought, I am a good person. Okay. Okay, so in the text, oh, can you give me the screen sharing, Tom, please? That'd be kind. Okay. Yeah. So in the text, we had this one, the last one, isn't it? 88. And even if he does suffer as you had wished, this is your enemy, what is there for you to be joyful about? If you say, for I shall be satisfied, how could there be anything more wretched than that? Yeah, so did you practice this a little bit to be careful not to, you know, when people that we think they don't deserve to be happy, and when we kind of have this slight, not going like this, but we're not, like when somebody criticizes somebody that we don't like, we're not readily jumping in and saying, oh, but look, the person also has good sides or something like that. And there's a perverse kind of happiness, isn't it? And Shantideva says to himself, because Shantideva is a Bodhisattva, like somebody who wants to benefit all sentient beings without exception, he says, well, if you have these kind of feelings, I mean, what can be more perverse or what can be more wretched than this? Has anybody noticed that we do this from time to time? Yeah, it's good just to be honest, because this is what I'm saying, we're all the same. And the thing is, what happens next, this is then the next verse, because we are not really aware of the consequences. Because at the moment, you see, when we act in an unkind way to somebody that we think there's no consequences, like somebody that, we're not depending on them, somebody that we just maybe meet on the bus or on the train or wherever, or in the shop, then we think it has no consequences, but we are creating karma. We're putting imprints on our mind that then with time they will ripen. Yeah, and actually Shantideva, he's quite forceful. So I don't know if that will help you if you think like Shantideva. But of course, Shantideva knows the Buddhist past because he's a Buddhist monk and he's a Buddhist scholar. So if he says, this hook cast by the fisherman of disturbing conceptions is unbearably sharp. Having been caught on it, it is certain that I shall be cooked in cauldrons by the guardians of hell. Okay, so he's talking about, whatever negative karma we are creating now. Like, maybe before we go into that, it's good to remember what makes an action negative that would then cause in a next life a very suffering existence. And as you might know, in Buddhism, one talks about hell realms where there's incredible heat and cold and lots of pain and nobody to help you. This is why also what we should always remember, if we have difficulties in our life as a human, we have so many resources to deal with it. And these difficulties arise because we have created the causes in order to experience these results. Now, again, this is the Buddhist view. I know it's quite difficult to accept it for some people because we don't see the causes. So we have to kind of trust the Buddha that this is so. But for example, if as a very small child where I don't have memory anymore, and I break my arm and it has not been put together in the right way, and maybe my mom or my dad or somebody explains it to me that this is what happened, you fell down the steps and then I can accept it. I'm not kind of going, oh, this is so unfair and it's so unjust. Everybody has straight arms and my arm is crooked. Why am I born with a crooked arm and all this? When somebody that we trust is explaining the circumstances, we can accept it in a much better way. And I think we can see that with people who take this law of cause and effect, who really take it on board, that when they have difficulties, they can deal with it in a much better way. Sometimes they also deal with it in a totally not skillful way, especially we Westerners. When we say, okay, okay, well, this is happening to me, my husband is beating me up. Oh, well, this is my karma, so let it happen. That's not a good understanding of karma. This is being fatalistic. Yeah, because you can always protect yourself. You can always, if you can change the situation, you should always try to change it. As you might remember at the beginning of this chapter, I think it was verse 10, when Shantideva says, what's the point of getting upset about something that you cannot change? You just make it worse, by the way. And what's the point of getting upset about something that you can't change? Go ahead and change it, but not with the mind that is upset. First, with a mind that is very sober and say, okay, like this one sentence that we had in the meditation, being a good person, wanting to be a good person, being a Bodhisattva, what is the appropriate way of reacting to the situation? Yeah. So don't go kind of, oh, well, this is karma, there's nothing I can do. If there's nothing you can do, that's fine. But very often we're not really thinking that far, or we're too lazy, or we don't have the courage to bear the hardships to change something. Okay, but so in order for an action to become a cause for a rebirth in a lower state, as they will call it. The lower states are hell beings, hungry ghosts, and animals. And in these three states, if you have to bear these hardships, you have no resources, as we have in the human world. This is why it's much better that the negative karma ripens now. But again, You know, please don't misunderstand me. You're not going around and asking people to beat you up and to steal your stuff so that they can purify your negative karma. We can purify negative karma without it becoming to ripening. Yeah, I think we talked about this two weeks ago. The four opponent powers, how we purify negative karma. Okay, so what anybody remembers? Because again, remember this discussion groups, and it's good to make you think so that you're not falling asleep. You remember what it needs for a karmic imprint to become really strong, so that it can create, or it can kind of throw the mind stream after it has left its body, it goes into the intermediate state. The mind desperately is looking for something, and then what kind of karma ripens already actually at the time of death. This is why it's important we learn to be peaceful. Then we will get thrown without choice into that state according to the karmic imprint that has ripened at that moment, or that is ripening. So anybody remembers what more do you need? Of course you need the action. And out of these actions, we have 10 that are negative: 3 of body, 4 of speech, and 3 of mind. But then what else do you need?
Motivation.
The motivation, intention. You see, the thing is, when you say motivation and intention, that is very true, what Leora says. But then, if you hear this, you think you have to have a very conscious motivation of harming that person. But it's much more subtle than this. It's in Tibetan, there's a word for this, it's called Shempa. It's this energy that pushes us to do something, even though sometimes intellectually we know it's not a good thing to do. And this is the habit. This is the habit force. Yeah, and it's called Shempa. And this is why here, when it says, let me show you the verse again, where it says, this hook cast by the fisherman of disturbing conceptions. The fisherman is Shempa. It's this driving force for us to do something. We know it's negative, but we still do it. And these are the disturbing conceptions. So this is the intention, yeah? Then is unbearably sharp. Having been caught on it, it is certain that I shall be cooked in the cauldrons by the guardians of hell. Not immediately, not immediately when you bite on the hook, even though there's already some kind of suffering. So Shempa, I think it's Pema Chodron who explains it really well. So let's say you are a fish and you have already been caught a few times, and you know the pain of the hook, but still you have been released because you were too small. I don't know, probably nobody of you fishes, but I used to work in a sports shop, so I know all these things. So when the fish are too small, like here in Switzerland, I don't know how it is in Israel, they have to be released because otherwise you get a big fine. So then they get released. So basically you should remember that if you see this worm kind of on the hook, that behind the worm, behind the pleasure, there is a hook. But the attachment to get the worm, or even the attachment to be now nasty to that person, the habit to be nasty to that person, the habit to bite on anything where behind these very strong negative emotions is too big, and we forget and tuck and we bite on it again and again and again and again. And that just strengthens the habit. And I tell you, I admit my anger. I just did it again today, but it was a person I didn't know. So I get a phone call from these poor people who need to sell stuff on the telephone. Do you also have these? You get these phone calls also in Israel sometimes?
All the time.
I mean, what a terrible job. Yeah. So in general, I try to be quite nice. and kind, because, you know, I would like to do that job, because I can imagine how much anger these people get. Can you imagine how they go home in the evening? They have to have such a big protection not to beat up their children when they come home, or their dog or their cat or whatever. Imagine you would get so much anger trying to do your job. And I don't think that any of these people really choose. It's not, I don't think it's their dream job, by the way. They just do it because they don't find anything else. And she had like quite a heavy accent, and she was asking me what kind of internet connection we have. So I said, this one and this one. And it's true, it's the most expensive one because it's the national one. And but we just said, yeah, it's okay, we can afford it. So we don't need to go into all these other ones who are, you know, the deals and big competition and this and that. And so she's asking me for the city where I live, and then she's asking me for the road. And then I said, why are you asking me these things? And then she's asking me for my name, and then I said, no, I'm not going to give you my name, because you are going to send somebody who wants to sell me something different. And she kept insisting that, yeah, but there is cheaper ones and better ones and faster ones. And I was quite patient. I said, look, we are happy with the internet connection that we have. We don't need to have the cheapest one. It's okay. We can afford that one. And for me, because we don't have TV, it's fast enough. And then she just kept insisting, wanting to know my name. And then, so I started to raise my voice, and then I could feel the Shempa, you know, this too strong energy, the closed heart, not screaming at her, not shouting at her, but saying, hey, I don't want you to send anybody to where I'm not going to give you my name. And then she kind of said, yeah, okay, sorry. But you see, I could have said that in a calm way. She would have understood if I would have repeated it 3 times. You know, it's okay, the internet connection that we have. So this is the force of habit. And this is the intention. The intention is like, it wasn't my intention to hurt her, but it was my intention to I don't want anybody to come here and trying to sell me something that I don't want, because they usually do it to older people anyway, because, you know, they go with big promises and all that. But then, you know, I hung up the phone, and then I thought like, hey, come on. Why did you react like this? So when we start to have some awareness of seeing what we're doing without feeling guilty and without feeling bad or whatever, we can weaken that habit a little bit. Okay. So as Leora says, we need to have an intention. Sometimes the word intention is not so clear, because when we say it wasn't my intention to hurt her, no, that's true. It wasn't my intention to hurt her, but the intention when I get upset is to hurt her, so that she shuts up, so that she kind of apologizes, feels bad or whatever. If we look, you know, how dare she kind of asking for my name. So this is why awareness, if we want to change something in our behavior, is so important, so that we start to notice the real motivation behind it. Yeah. Okay, so we need to have an intention. Usually they say also like negative emotions, either attachment, anger, or definitely grasping at, you know, I don't want anybody to come to the door. As a good Bodhisattva, I should have thought, maybe I tell her my address, because I live here in the center. I let them in. They see all the Buddhas, they see all the Taras, maybe they get some good imprints. You know, this would have been the reaction of a Bodhisattva. Far off the goal here. Yeah. Okay, so intention, then you need, what else do you need?
Result.
Huh?
Result. After the action, I need action, and then I need the result of the action.
Yeah, okay. And what else do you need? I mean, you need to finish the action.
Finish
Okay.
the action, yes.
Yeah.
I want to say something.
Yeah, just can we finish with these 4 things? So because otherwise I get lost again, and then, you know, we don't finish. So that you're very clear. You know, there is karmic imprints that become very strong, that are so strong that they throw us into the next existence. This is what is called throwing karma. And for that, you need 4 factors with the action. Yeah, so maybe I tell you what they are so that we're quite clear in it. So you need the intention, or let's say the underlying force behind it is not love, is not compassion, but it's anger and it's me. It's like I don't want this, or I do want this. Yeah, this is that's what makes the intention, basically.
The decision.
Yeah, just a sec. Just a sec. I just finished with the other 3, okay, Israel? Because, you know, my memory is so bad, and sometimes I feel myself with what I'm talking about. I'm going circle in circles and circles, and I don't say what I should say. Okay, the intention, the action. So with the action, for example, it's killing, body action, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Worldly action is lying, harsh words, which I used, yeah, because I raised my voice, harsh words, or like slandering, dividing people, or meaningless talks. And then actions of the mind is like covetousness, like being jealous, envious, harmful thoughts, and wrong views. So those are the 10 negative actions, okay? So one of these actions, usually it's with the body or with the speech. Then we need to have an object, somebody who hears my words. That could be, you know, insulted, hurt. I'm sure she wasn't very happy about how I reacted. Most of the time, these people, because they're not so insisting, we start to have a conversation and they hang up and they're quite happy because I didn't shout at them. But this one, I totally failed. So we need to do an object, we need to do the action, and we need to finish the action. And very often they add, you know, so the action becomes really complete. We need to rejoice about the action, you know. So with killing a mosquito is very clear, right? So we hear zzz, and then there is aversion towards that being. Should not be in my room, can be anywhere else, but not in my room. Yeah, when we hear it's going to the neighbor, we're quite happy also. So then we plan, we use our human intelligence to kill it. We plan it, it lands somewhere, we wait until it lands. We're not going blindly like this. And it lands somewhere, and then we go, if it's on my arm, we go like, zack, like far too strong, the action, totally exaggerated, and then we're happy that it's dead. So that is a full negative action of killing. Okay, Israel, now you can ask.
From my experience, before the intention, before all this process, I find out that the decision for me is the important first thing in the process. The decision that, like you said, that the fisherman throw out a hook, and the fish knows already a few times underneath this there is a hook, but anyway it goes there.
Yeah.
But if the fish will have a decision, decision like I can have a decision, to say, okay, I know now, this is a hook. Okay. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. And then if I know that I'm not going there, then the intention comes straight away. The intention and the action and everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is a wrong understanding of intention. You know, when they talk about Shempa or intention, it's this kind of, you know, I didn't decide to shout at this woman. I just shouted at her.
No, but you could decide not to shout.
No.
No?
And I tell you why. When they talk about negative emotions, and this is why purification or recognizing these things, what you're talking about is awareness. Yeah, the awareness to see, there is a wish to shout at her, but I didn't have time, you know, it just comes like this. So this is what we need to see. And I think for us, because we're kind of decent people, you know, it's our small actions when we start to be unkind to somebody in a small way. And then again, Israel, it's very good what you're saying, because sometimes we think that we decide to be unkind. But when you are unkind, try to go back and really see, was that a conscious decision to shout at that person, or did it just come like this? So when they talk about what, you know, when we talk about kleshas, yeah, negative emotions, again, they are called negative, not because they feel bad or whatever, but because they lead to suffering, because they create imprints or seeds on our mind stream that then we get lost in situations where we don't want to be, right? And the karma ripens on two levels also. It ripens on the level of habit, and it ripens on the level of result. The same thing comes back like boomerang, okay? So for these negative emotions to arise, we need the seed. You know, that's the basis. And the seed is a negative emotion from another time that we did not dissolve. You see, I think now the negative emotion that I had this afternoon, that one is dissolved. Why? Because I regret it. I don't feel good about it. I make a determination. Next time you get one of these phone calls, be more aware, be more, you know, be more careful what you're saying. Take time, use what you learn in Buddhism. When you feel the negative emotion coming up, shut up. It's always the first thing that we do. Pause. Don't do anything with your body and your speech, okay? So this imprint from this afternoon, nothing is remaining. I'm pretty sure, because I purified it immediately. Now, I could also feel bad about it and feel guilty about it. Then I make it even stronger. There's no point. You know, we have to go at this with a very sober mind. Next time, I'll have to be more careful when it comes. So, but the basis is negative imprints, which I have not resolved. I didn't regret. I didn't think I have to be more careful. You know, this is the seed. And then when that seed meets the object, it arises as negative emotion, whether we want or not. And then our mindfulness, awareness, that is the chance to say no. Sometimes it's there, as you say, you know, but most of the time, I mean, it's so quick. It is so fast, yeah? And then what happens also, another factor why we react out of these negative emotions is what is called inappropriate attention. I think I already mentioned it at one point. Do you remember what it means, inappropriate attention? Like the attention is in the wrong place.
Yeah, it's a little bit like excuse, isn't it?
No. Where should the attention be? What we did in the meditation today, when we started. Where was your attention? Where was your awareness?
Our heart.
Inside. In the heart, in the head, in the throat, in the stomach, wherever you feel something, doesn't matter. Inappropriate attention is every negative emotion, be it like aversion or attachment. The inappropriate attention is we allow the mind to stay with the object out there. And that increases the negative emotion. Whereas if we go inside, and this is a very good antidote for negative emotions, if we go inside and we watch it, then it fizzles away. But if we just leave it there and we're not aware of it, it increases. Because it seems, and maybe this is for the psychologists, Gidi, Netta is not here. She said she couldn't participate. She has other things to do. Yeah. So why do the negative emotions increase if we don't give them enough attention? What do you think? What would psychology say to that?
It's a good question. I think psychology talks a lot about, it doesn't call it habits, but patterns of relationships or patterns of behavior, and we formulate or we learn these patterns at a young age. Usually they are defensive, so they have some benefits to them at a certain age, and then we continue to behave or relate in this certain way, even if it's not helpful anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you can't break. It's very difficult to break them because they are entrenched.
Yeah. They have become habits. Exactly. But it's very good what you're saying. Sometimes these negative emotions, they seem to have benefits. Like either they protect us because the person is afraid of us when we're angry and moves away, or we get what we want when we get angry at somebody or with attachment or whatever. And then maybe the subconsciousness or something understands something wrong. And then the habits, because this is it, you know, this is one of another factor why we are like the fish. We're totally powerless. We hang on that hook. And once you are on the hook, once the negative emotion is there, you have very, very little choice.
Yeah, it's almost like karma, because usually these patterns develop when we're very young. So if you're in danger when you're young, you don't have a choice. You have to protect yourself, even if it's something that's not so positive.
Yeah, because you're not in a safe. Because you're not in a safe environment, you know. When children feel that they're not in a safe environment, all they think about is how to protect themselves. And it's the same at school. If they get threatened all the time, they cannot be creative because they're afraid. And then so the main focus is, how do I not get harmed? How do I not get exposed, you know, like ridicule and all this? And then they become very harsh. Yeah. But maybe for us, I was also thinking like a naughty child, you know, if you don't give the naughty child any attention, it gets naughtier and naughtier and naughtier. And I think also these not so pleasant sensations that we have sometimes, we don't pay attention to them enough. We just distract ourselves. And then they increase because we should look, hey, what's going on? Right?
Symptoms.
But the moment and this is good when you do meditate, it's really good to observe. It should not be the motivation for them to go away, right? But if you just watch them without giving them any thoughts, without feeding into them, oh, this is good, this is bad, why is it here, blah, blah, blah. You just watch it with, like a mirror, you know, always kind of reflecting with what is called choiceless awareness. Very quickly, they dissolve into their nature, which is dynamic energy or whatever you want to call it. You know, they disappear. Somebody in Mexico at one point when we were talking about this, and then, you know, of course, they had to do the exercise, they had to train it the whole week. Next week, she came back. She said, wow, you know, this is amazing. And this is Mexico. These negative emotions, I thought they are so solid like a brick. But when I look at them, and she said, this is like when I come home at night and I put on the light in the kitchen, then all the cockroaches disappear. And this is exactly what it is. You know, when you don't look, it feels as heavy as a brick. If you have the courage to bear the pain, to just look at it and not distract yourself with anything else. But again, you know, be careful, there is levels. Now, when you hear this now and you're a psychologist and you think, oh, this is great, I'm going to tell my patients this. Maybe your patient is not ready to watch this.
Right.
Maybe this is why I'm saying, whatever you're hearing, this is not for your patients.
Right.
Whatever I am talking about, this is for you guys, not for your patients.
Right.
Because if somebody is your patient, they're probably not even able to listen to what I'm saying. Okay? And you have to become your own therapist. If you want to practice Buddhism, if you want to study your negative emotions and your positive emotions, your mind and all of this, you need to be able to judge.
Right.
Is it the right moment to just be with my negative emotions? Or do I need a painkiller now, which could be a beer or an ice cream or a telephone call or whatever? Yeah. But ultimately, you have to learn to deal with this yourself.
Anila, also, Anila, I agree so much with what was saying, because it's very tempting for us to show our patient, oh, this is your ultimate pattern, and you become this pattern, and until you identify it, you cannot change. So it needs so much patience also for us to work on us.
Yeah.
Really to write to that moment that we can identify this pattern.
Yeah.
And then,
and
because
then,
it's so rooted in our childhood, in very early childhood. So
wow, Buddhism tells you much other things, not only your early childhood, since beginningless lifetimes.
Right.
We have been creating these patterns. In your childhood, you might be able to find it. In beginningless lifetimes, how are you going to find it? But also in Buddhism, we don't dig in the past.
Right.
They say, okay, it's finished, it's past, karma increases. So it could have been a very small act, it could be a big act, we don't know. We look into the future. What do I do now? And then we take all kinds of tools, to do. And the first one is always awareness or mindfulness, mindfulness has become such a kind of fashion word. So I prefer awareness, to know what's going on. And then, another disadvantage that we have in the West is we don't have the self-confidence that by nature we are good, that we have Buddha nature. We don't have that self-confidence. So first we have to build it up. So basically, first we have to build up our ego so that then we can dismantle it. Yeah, so it's tricky. You see, Buddhism is very, very tricky because there is no black and white thing. Sometimes you have to do like this, and sometimes you have to do like that. I think there was this story about the abbot in Thailand. So one monk was sweeping outside his door, and then another monk is coming, wanting to talk to the abbot, and he says, all these rules, this is so difficult. It doesn't really help my practice because I feel upset all the time. It is really difficult. And then the abbot says, yes, you're right. It's very difficult. Then the next one comes and says, wow, these rules, they're so helpful. It really supports my practice. It makes everything so much easier. And then the abbot says, yes, you're right. And then the one who was sweeping in front of the door was going like, what is he saying like this? So he goes in quite upset and he says to the abbot, well, what are you talking about? One, you say this, and the other one, you say exactly the opposite. What is this? This cannot be right. And then the abbot says, yes, you're right.
All right.
You see, on a conventional level, because also we had this before when Shantideva explains, difficult situations come about because there are so many factors contributing to that. And we only see the last one. And the moment we start to understand how many other factors come in so that the situation can occur, then we start to calm down, actually. Yeah. So again, Shantideva is just reminding himself, sometimes when we kind of get a little bit haughty and a little bit careless, be careful. The fisherman is always there, throwing the hook. So be careful, as Israel says, see behind the pleasure or behind, the wish to be angry or unkind, behind it, try to see the hook, which then throws you into the lower state.
Anila, can I ask something?
He still talks about, remember verse 88, when we wish somebody that they suffer? So it kind of goes together when we have this negative rejoicing. Negative rejoicing is very, very, very dangerous. Yeah, because we don't see the consequences immediately. It feels good. You know, it feels good when an enemy fails. And it feels good because why? Because we don't like the person. So it doesn't have to be Netanyahu. Just, you know, just look at your daily life sometimes. If you're not like this and you never rejoice when somebody fails, I mean, I'm the first one to rejoice that you are like this, but I can see myself. If somebody that I think they're not so good people, and there are some people like this in my life, I'm not very happy when they succeed. Not the same way as when I'm happy with my friends. So maybe I'm the only one, you know, who feels like this. I don't know. So if you are not like this, then we don't need to discuss it. Yeah. Then you have done it. Then you're very advanced. Yeah. But just
Can I ask something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Elisheva.
I found for me it's very difficult to pay attention in the action, just after it. So I'm really searching this point for yes, become better in
And you don't feel any success at all? You know, because I just told you my story, you can see how difficult it is for me. And this is what I wanted to say to Michal also before. When we start practicing ourselves, we see how difficult this is to transform our mind. For us, we study Dharma, we want to not have the negative emotions, we don't enjoy them, we are intelligent, we have contact with other Sangha members, we sit down, we meditate, and still it's very difficult. So can you imagine how difficult it is for your patients? No Dharma, no belief or no trust in law of cause and effect, not thinking that the only solution is kindness and compassion, not even heard about the I that feels so hurt does not exist that the way that it appears. You know, it's much more difficult for them. But you will have much more empathy and patience if you practice. This is why, you know, I always tell, this is why I mentioned that so many times when I have psychologists in the class, please don't listen to me to tell other people. Listen to me like a mirror that then you use for yourself, not a window where you look out and want to tell others.
I can
So, Elisheva, it's practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's daily awareness practice, sitting down every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I'm sitting, it's much more easy for me to do it and to see. But I'm not speaking about when I'm practicing. I need to stop everything and then I can see everything. But I want to see
daily life, right?
When I'm in action, not when I'm stopping it.
Well, you see,
like a strong.
Elisheva, when the first thing when you feel a negative emotion coming up, first thing is stop, pause, and then you think. Then you have time to think. But until this is the most difficult step actually to do, because our habits are so strong. So this is why we do quite a lot of purification practices, so that these remaining imprints that we still have, not to be aware and to react immediately, you know, as I just said, when you have a seed and that seed meets the object, you have no choice. The negative emotion comes up, and then the negative emotion it acts like the engine to push you into action of speech and body. So what is quite good also is to immediately try to remedy it if you have hurt somebody. You know, not to wait and say, wow, look, I'm really sorry that I said this. And don't say I didn't mean it, because if we don't mean it, why do we do it? You know, if we don't mean it, there's no energy to do these unkind things. Yeah. So again,
in the last,
you see the meaning. The meaning we don't feel, but the meaning is the energy. Yeah. Sorry, I cut your word.
No, it's okay. In the last 2 days, I'm all the time say, sorry.
Yeah.
And my mind, yes, because of the situation now. So.
Yes, I understand. So, the same way as you feel stressed and frustrated, and then the door to the negative emotions wide open, the same way other people feel. So then we also, we can understand how they feel. We don't get so hurt, and to have some understanding that when we're not feeling well, it's very difficult to be kind. Now, again, it's not an excuse, it's an understanding. So the first thing, what we have to do is to take care of ourselves and to look, what can make me feel a little bit better? And one thing that, I know that, Israel, what can make you feel better?
That's what makes me feel better is how I can see what's coming up.
Okay, yeah, this is awareness.
Yes, this is awareness. So it's like a bomb, the bomb have a thread.
Yeah.
Now, I remember myself when I was young, the thread was very, very short,
Yeah.
Right. Very short.
Yeah.
Straight away, the bomb went up.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, maybe more, when I came to this realization that Buddhism can help me.
Yeah.
So what happened in these years, this thread is longer now.
Yeah, right.
It maybe can start, like my teacher said, when the candle, there is candle come up, just take some water.
Yeah.
Try to, when it's very little, not when it's big.
Exactly.
And also to realize how do you feel it? I mean, if something happened, you feel it somewhere in your body.
Yeah.
If you anger,
Mm-hmm.
I feel it in my stomach, or I
Okay.
feel it here.
Yeah.
So I can feel it.
Yeah.
The feel come before the action.
Yeah.
So when I start to feel it, I realize there's something wrong coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can see when I can take the small fire
Mm-hmm.
and try to deal with it when it's small.
Yes, right.
I don't succeed every time, for sure.
I mean, neither, but it's okay. We're trying, and that's good enough. This is so important, because if you start to feel bad about yourself of not succeeding, then you make the thread even shorter. Yeah.
And this is also to talk about like the fish, like the fish.
Yeah.
Like in our life, there is so many holes in the street.
Yeah, right.
If you don't see the hole, you fall in.
Yeah.
You fall inside the hole.
Yeah.
But when you fall in the hole, in the first time, it takes you a long time to go out of it. Yeah. But if you fall there in the second time, learn how the hole is created, you can go out of it very quick. In the end, when you see the hole, you don't go in, because you see
go around.
You go around, because when you see the hole, already you know, there I'm going to fall. But,
exactly. And this is, Elisheva, this is practice. So for some people, the practice works very fast. That means, from Buddhist point of view, they must have been practicing in previous lives. So they're just rehearsing the whole thing and it all comes back. For other people, it takes a long time. And also, taking good care of ourselves is, as much as possible, relax. When you feel stressed, frustrated, don't pull yourself together. Don't go like, I have to be careful now. Just tell yourself to relax, breathe deep, and even say, hey, relax, let go. Yeah. Then the thread becomes really long. The more we are relaxed, the more we understand the nature of samsara. No matter where I go, there will be some difficulties. I can use these difficulties in order to grow. I can use the difficulties in order to develop renunciation. I want to get out of here. I'm sick and tired of being under the control of these negative emotions, for example. Yeah, but to also to know, as long as I have them, I will react in ways, as Israel says, more and more, you know, kind, compassionate, patient. But sometimes I just blow the fuse, as one would say. And this is why I was asking you, don't you feel any progress in your practice?
Yes. When I was younger, I was much more in angry situations. Now, much less, but now it disturbs me much more. That's it.
Because we are aware of it. That's true. That you're right, because we are aware of it. When I was younger, I was able to be really unkind with my words to people. Absolutely, it was okay. Then I started studying Buddhism. I started to watch my mind. I started practicing. I could spend sleepless nights about an unkind thing that I had said to others. It's good disturbance, because it's that disturbance that will make us change. Because if we don't want to be disturbed anymore, we have to change. Yeah. So this disturbance, don't be upset about that disturbance. That's very good disturbance. Okay. Yes, Hadar.
Hi. Something you said made me remember I wanted to ask about something, and it's connected to today. When you said, don't say I didn't mean it. And sometimes I recognize that I did something mean or said something not good after I see the impact that I get from the other person, or I hear something and it makes me understand or realize that I did it wasn't, something wasn't right, or wasn't good. And then I'm saying, the thing I'm saying to make me feel better is that I didn't mean to hurt. I didn't mean to hurt. I know that it's my responsibility. I understand it, and I know that the anger or the mean thing I said came out of a deep place or fear or something I didn't understand, and that makes me ask you about the thing that you said. Anger is always with the act of doing something mean. Is with anger is to harm. And I find out that the last few weeks that I'm looking at it more because of you, that it's not. Sometimes it comes from the inside. I feel very bad. I harmed someone, but I didn't mean. I know it came not from the other person. The other person just made it up from somewhere.
Yeah.
Brought it up from somewhere.
Yeah, of course it comes out of you. It doesn't come from somebody else. When you go and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. When I say, I don't think it's very skillful to say that, because it's not true. You know, when we are frustrated, we want to hurt somebody else. This is how it is, even if it's very short. Thinking that it helps our frustration. And how do you feel when somebody hurts you and then they come and say, oh, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it?
I usually understand. I said, okay, something in you made you, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
It's because, Hagar, it's because you cannot bear your frustration, so you throw it out on other person. So it's still a patterns that we all have to identify to stop throwing to the other person our frustrations or anger. That's what you mean, isn't it?
The opposite. I'm saying the opposite. I'm taking everything on me. Even if someone hurted me, I'm saying, okay, maybe something in me made you that, and maybe something I said or something in you made you to be harmful.
Agar, it goes the opposite on the same way. Sometimes somebody else feels very frustrated and destroy it over you. So many times it's not ours, it's him, it's his frustration.
Yeah, but I mean, if you are the one who hurt somebody else, you don't go around telling, look, it's like kind of, it's not me, it's you, or something like this. It's like this you can't do. But I think when you say I didn't mean it, then you kind of go like, you shouldn't feel bad about this because I didn't mean it. You should feel okay. I think it's good to say, look, you can say I'm sorry. You know, I'm really sorry about what I said. I was angry or I was frustrated, and if it has nothing to do with the person, you can tell them, but it has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's much better than I didn't mean it, I think, because people can really feel hurt. And when they hear that when we're just honest and we say, I was angry, I was frustrated, I was tired, or this and that, then the other person understands. I think it's much better than to say, I didn't mean it, when we give an explanation why this happened. If it's true, try to be honest and genuine. I mean, the Dalai Lama, when he talks, especially to children, when children always say, what can we do? The world is so bad. The world has become so violent. There is no hope. The environment is kind of the global warming and all this. I think His Holiness already, sometimes he says, oh, well, I think we have to let go of that. It's too late. But in the meantime, while we are still on this planet, he says, be kind and be honest. Even being honest means that the other person maybe doesn't want to talk to you anymore when you admit that you were angry. I don't know. You see, I mean, all the situations have a lot of like different, again, all the conditions that come together. I think one thing that we have to learn is to forgive ourselves, to become or to be angry. Yeah, and to be able to be honest and to say, yes, I have anger. I have jealousy. I have this. I have arrogance. I have fear. I have whatever. So fear is neither positive nor negative. It depends how we use it. If we wouldn't have any fear, we would all be dead by now, I guess. People always want to be fearless. Well, you wouldn't survive much longer because fear is kind of saying, hey, be careful. Yeah. But then there's also the obsessive fear where we are afraid of something that we cannot change. Okay. So this was like the warning about this fissure, this hook was about the warning to rejoice in a negative way, or to wish your enemy or the one that you don't like, because it is, it's very tempting to enjoy the misfortune of people we dislike. It's very, very tempting. Netanyahu gets caught, he gets into prison, he gets beaten up by the prisoners. He has a terrible life. Again, be honest and look how you feel about this.
Miserable Netanyahu. Miserable Netanyahu. Poor Netanyahu.
I mean, he's so deluded. I really don't know what he's doing. So, but Pema Chodron says with this fish here, she says, but we are like a fish who discovers a worm on a fish hook. Whether we are aware of the hook or not, we just want to snap up this juicy little worm. Because when somebody has made you suffer so much and frustrated so much, when that person suffers, there is some satisfaction in it, whether we want or not, isn't it? He deserves it. Yeah. The consequences for us and the poor fish are the same. A brief satisfaction and a very unpleasant ending. Hanging on the sharp hook of hatred and envy never brings well-being and real satisfaction. So, when you catch it, so again, it's the awareness that comes in. So then when we catch it, then we can go like, okay, put the awareness on it and then see what happens without feeding it. And so this would be the homework for the next week, to really, with the frustration that you feel now, with the sadness, with the anger, with the, just stay with the feeling with a lot of compassion. Watch it and see what happens, and then we discuss it next week.
Do we meet next week?
Why? Why not? Is some holiday going on or what?
Yes, it's Chol Moed.
What is Chol Moed?
It's a Passover. It's a Passover holiday.
It's Pesach. Okay, then we don't.
Yeah. I won't be here next day.
No, that's fine. If it's a holiday, we take off.
No, not a holiday.
Not a holiday.
Not a holiday.
Holiday.
But it's something.
Half holiday.
Huh?
Hey, but nobody uses.
No, I mean, for those people who want, then we can take off. Or you know what we can do? We take off. Why not?
Why?
Shall we, democracy, okay? We all want democracy.
I want that it will be in
I think I have to do the dictatorship here. Well, how do other people feel about this?
Is a day like a day?
Any day is like, any day is just labeled. Any day is a day.
Doesn't matter. Holiday, no holiday is the same.
Yeah, it's all labeled. Some people label it holiday, it becomes a holiday. Some other people don't. When is Pesach? When is Pesach starting?
Pesach is this Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday. And then these 7 days that we normally do courses and retreats, and then in the end there's a holiday. So I think that if you like, just keep this as usual. The one that wants to go will participate.
It's not the main day.
Not the main holiday.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, then I think we can have it. If it would have been a main day, then that's it. What I would like to mention, you have two wonderful teachers going to teach for you Israeli guys, and Yaki, who is going to translate. So one of them is Chador Rinpoche. Some of you might know him. So especially for the people who are not so familiar with Buddhism, and also for us, for everybody, I'll be watching him, is, he is putting the whole of Buddhism in 2 days, basically, in 4 lectures, which is give up negative actions. So he will talk about karma. So how not to bite the hook, kind of thing. Then do positive things so that we have the causes, a stable, simple life, so that we can have the conditions to transform our mind. So that's the third one. Give up negative things, do positive things, and transform your mind. So it really goes in these steps. Yeah. Before we start to transform the mind, we have to be aware of the negative things that we do and start to give those up. Because otherwise it won't work, because we increase the habits that we have. Then you have Serkong Rinpoche, who is teaching in April, and he'll teach on a wonderful text. One of my favorite texts for the time of death is the Sutra at the time of death, where it says how we should think, how a Bodhisattva should think at the time of death. And we don't have to wait for the moment of death to think like this. We can train in our life to think with compassion, to think that enlightenment or happiness is inside here, nowhere else, and to think that nothing exists from its own side, to think about emptiness. Yeah, so that's all in the sutra. It's only 1 page. It's a very nice sutra. So it's teaching on that, and then on mind transformation, the 7 points mind transformation. Also a wonderful text. Very challenging to transform the mind. This is when we don't have the perfect conditions, or when you're not well trained. It's like sitting, you don't know how to drive, and somebody gives you a Ferrari, like one of these Formula 1 race cars, and you say, oh, great, you sit into it and you go onto the gas pedal and you crash into the wall. So again, if you want to do mind transformation, it's really important about emptiness, that the I does not exist the way that it appears. Otherwise you hurt yourself. Otherwise you take the wrong target. Otherwise you take the whole of you and not just this seemingly self-existing I. And for that, you need to listen to the teachings on emptiness. again and again and again and again, which you have every Sunday evening with Geshe-ma, yeah, where she's teaching on emptiness. This we have to hear again and again and again and again. Don't think because you understood it intellectually that it works. Okay. Oh, we did one verse only. But anyway, next one. The next one is on the 8 worldly dharma, so it's another topic, so that's okay. It's again about praise and fame and success and all this, that we become, we become aware why we are running after this, why this becomes the focus of our life. Yeah? Okay, so we do some loving kindness meditation, sending out some light to all the suffering beings, the ones who won the elections, the ones who lost the elections, both of them, encounter problems, both of them have suffering, both of them are under the control of their negative emotions, just like us. So then again, understanding where is the hook and who is the fisherman? The fisherman is our wrong concept of inherently others and inherently me. That things are not dependent on each other, that things are separate. That's the wrong concept. That's the fisherman who throws the hook. Out of this comes the hook itself. Whatever I like, I want. Whatever I dislike, I don't want. Anger and attachment, or aversion and attachment. And then we bite, because there's a short moment of the pleasure of the worm. And we're not taking into consideration the suffering that comes afterwards, because we are so blinded by this short moment of pleasure. The pleasure of either being unkind to somebody when we live out our anger, or the pleasure of getting something pleasant. Because when we bottle up our anger, it becomes very unpleasant. Releasing it is then pleasant. But we can also release the energy of the anger into its own nature by just watching it, not feeding it, just watching it, and it will disappear. It will come up again, but that very moment of anger that we are watching disappears. As Israel says, we go to the body. This is why we always check the body sensations. That automatically we start to, now automatically the mind stays outside with the object. And then we train that automatically the mind goes inside. So again, just for a few seconds maybe, notice, how do I feel? And you don't feel it in the head. You feel it in your stomach, in your throat, in your heart, wherever. Am I happy? Am I unhappy? Or neither? And then we generate loving kindness for ourselves. Again, with these very simple words. May I be safe. In Mahayana Buddhist terms, not being under the control of negative emotions. May I be protected from physical and mental harm. And may I be protected from harming others, which is biting the hook, which creates more suffering for me in the future, even if it feels pleasant now. May I be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. And may I be able to live my life with joy and ease, even if the outside situation is very difficult. Then you visualize your own goodness in your heart as a ball of light. Compassion, love, wisdom. Just visualize it. And you let it expand, like with every out breath, it becomes bigger, as if you blow up a balloon. You blow into that small source of light until it fills your whole body. And in the same way as the sun radiates in all directions, we send out the light to the people who won the elections, to the ones who lost the elections, to the ones who are frustrated, to the ones who are just short-term happy, but then also to the east, to the west, to north, to the south, outside of your country, to all sentient beings. Because each of these, if we would ask them, do you have a problem or do you have problems? Everybody would say yes. So we send out the light with these thoughts. May all beings be safe. May all beings be protected from physical and mental harm. May they all be strong, healthy, free from fear, loving and peaceful. And may we all be able to live our life with joy and ease. And may I be able to contribute to that. Whoever sees me, hears me, touches me, talks about me or talks to me, may it only be of benefit to them. Okay, well, then I wish you a happy Pesach. I was in Israel when it was Pesach. And we went through the whole dinner with Leora. It was very nice at your brother's house, you remember? Yeah, usually I'm only there Yom Kippur, but this one was, I can't remember why I was there in the spring. Anyway, Israel, you have very considerate people around you. There's your wife, but I think it's also your grandson or your granddaughter, or who is it? You need to open your microphone.
Okay. Yes, one of my
grandchildren. Because as we were doing the meditation, is it a he or a she? Because it's too far away, I couldn't see.
He.
It's a he. So as we were doing the meditation, he was passing behind and he was walking like this. Really, really considerate. Just seeing him, it totally warmed my heart. It's so nice, you know, when others care about what we are doing and not just, you know, really care. And I could feel the way he was walking behind you. He was emanating the light that we were emanating into the world with a lot of care and being very considerate. Can we see him?
He's He's gone to the shower now, so.
Oh, okay. So then, then maybe better not. But anyway, thank you very much. You can thank him for giving me that very short moment of really well-being by seeing him.
I'll tell him.
These, you know, these are the things we need to concentrate on and to be aware of also. The good moments when you feel, your heart opens spontaneously when you see something like that. To keep your awareness on it, because then they can make these connections in with the neurons and the synapses and all this. Yeah, taking in the good so that the connections can form. And you need, in order for a connection to be made, I don't know, Tom, I can't remember how many, it needs quite a few seconds actually. You know, just like this, it's not working. It needs an amount of time so that the connection is being made in our brain. So the mind is not the brain, but the brain plays a big role in how we feel also. So I wish you Chag Sameach, do you say it also for every holiday, and enjoy, have good family. You're allowed to meet, yeah, again?
Yes.
Okay. So enjoy family dinners, don't argue. If somebody else has a different opinion, you know, just, you can either freak out or just let it be. Choose to let it be. You don't need to prove to them that they are wrong. And as Kitty said, that's very difficult. You said that last week, but yeah, try, you know. The harmony at the moment may be more important than starting to fight. And enjoy each other's company again, that we have been missing for so long. Don't spoil it with kind of political stuff.
שמח לכולם.
חג שמח.
שמח.
Very, very much, Anila.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you very much.
And take
Thank
care.
you.
And
Thank you indeed.
And enjoy.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
לילה טוב.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
טוב, חג שמח.
ביי טוב.